Hi friends, my name is Atul Ahmed, and in this particular video I will show you how to create the project parameters and then how to use them, and then we will see that how we can deploy our SSIS package to the SSIS catalog, and then how to run the package using that catalog and create environment variables. The concept of project parameter is new since SQL Server 2012. For the SSIS 2012, in SSIS 2005 and 2008 R2, there was no concept of project parameters or package parameters. So at that time we used to use the configuration options provided by the SSIS. So the widely used configuration options were the XML configuration file and the SQL Server configuration file. So in case if you want to change the value of a particular property, for example connection string or a file path, then we used to update the values in the either in XML configuration file if you are using the XML configuration, or in SQL Server table if you are using the SQL Server. But since SQL Server 2012, we have a new option that is called the project parameters and package parameters, and those values we can modify at the management studio. So instead of modifying the configuration files, we can modify the values in the project and package parameters. So we'll see how we can do that in this particular video. So another thing that I want to tell you is that in SSIS we can create some SSIS variables, and then we can create some package level parameters and project level parameters. So the scope of a package level parameters will be limited to that particular package only. However, the scope of a project level parameters will be available to all the SSIS packages that is created inside that particular project. One other important thing that I want to share with you is that the SSIS variables and the project and package parameters seems very similar to each other, because we can provide some values to them and then we can use those values during the execution of the SSIS package. But the main difference between both is that we can modify the value of a SSIS variable inside the package, but we cannot modify the value of a project or package parameter inside the SSIS package. So for example, if I have SSIS variable named server name, so I can modify the value of server name during the execution of the SSIS package. However, if we have a project or package parameter named server name, then we cannot modify the value of the project or package parameter during the execution of the SSIS package. So that's the main thing that we need to take care of. So in this particular example, I will load a CSV file to SQL Server table, and then we will see how we can use the project parameters. So let's drag and drop the data flow task into the control flow window and configure the data flow task. So I'm going to load a CSV file which is situated at C files test data. So it has some test data inside it. So let's configure the flat file source, browse the file, and then you can preview the data. So data seems fine to me, click OK. So we have configured the flat file source. Now let's configure the OLTP destination. So in this particular case, I'm going to create a connection to the testing database. So I have SQL Server 2014 installed on machine, and then I have testing database. So right now it doesn't have any tables in it. So let's create a table with the default metadata from the CSV file. So let's name it test data, click OK. Then we are good to load the CSV file. So right now both the connections, the connection for the flat file and the connection for the SQL database and the server name, both are static. So let's see how we can modify the value for the server name and database name using the project parameters. So if you see in the right side, we have an option of project parameters. So just double click on it and you will see a new window, project.params, and to create a new project parameter, click add parameter, and the parameter name will be preceded by P, so that I can be sure that it is project parameter and not the SSIS variable, and the data type will be a string, and the value will be the current value of the SQL Server on which you are going to insert data to. So right now my server name is Ahmed, and the sensitive property is for the cases where we are going to store some sensitive information like password. So in that case we can use the sensitive, as true, and the required is for the cases where if we want to execute the SSIS package using the project deployment. So if we have provided, if we have set the value required as true, so every time we need to provide the value of this particular project parameter explicitly to the SSIS package. So in this particular case I am going to keep it as false, and let's create another project parameter for the database. So its name will be p database, and it will keep the value of the current database on which you are going to insert data to. So that in this particular case the database name is testing and the sensitivity will be false, and I'm going to keep the required as true for this particular case, so that I can show you how it will behave if you have set it to true instead of the false. So now we have declared two project parameters, p server and p database. So let's use these two parameters inside the SSIS package. So let's go to the properties of the SQL connection and then go to the expressions, and inside the property there is a name, there is a property for server name. So let's assign the value of server name with the p server. So you can see that after the dollar there is a option project, so it means that it is a project parameter. So you can click on the expression, evaluate expression. So right now the value is Ahmad, and similarly you can set the value of initial catalog, that is the database. So we can assign the value from the database as well. So now the values of the server and the database will become from these from these project parameters that we just created. You can see there is a small fx here, so it means that database connection is not static, it is dynamic, and it is assigned using the expressions. Okay, so we are done here with the SSIS package. Let's deploy the SSIS package to the SSIS catalog. So simply click on the project parameters and click on deploy, and we are going to deploy this package to the SSIS catalog. Click next. So our server name is Ahmad, and let's browse. Okay, so it's saying that integration services catalog was not found. So if you are deploying the SSIS package first time on your server, and if you got this kind of message, it means that integration services catalog is not found on the instance. So we need to first create the SSIS catalog in that particular case. Click OK, and then go to the SQL Server 2014, and you can see that integration services catalogs is really doesn't exist here. So simply click on it and click create catalog, and then we can provide a password for this particular catalog. So I'm just providing a password here. Click OK. So it will create a SSIS catalog on my SQL Server 2014. So it has created an SSIS DB catalog here. Alright, so go back to the SSIS package, and then I can browse it. So now I can find that there is an SSIS DB catalog. So for this particular project I'm going to create a new folder. So my folder name can be project parameters test. Alright, okay, click OK, and then click on next. So now just click on the deploy. So it will take a couple of seconds to deploy my project parameters to the SSIS catalog. So the deployment is successful. Simply click close. So now go back to the management studio, and if you refresh the SSIS DB, so you can see that now it contains the project parameters test, the project that I just deployed from the BIDS to the SQL Server. So if you expand this, so you can see under the projects, you can see there is a project parameters here, and inside the project parameter there is a single package.ttsx. This is the package that can be executed, and then under environments we doesn't have anything right now. So the SSIS package that we just created, if you execute this SSIS package, it should load the file from this particular location, test data.csv, to a SQL Server table. So if you open this particular file, you will see that it contains around 1001 records, and the header and the first line contains the header information. So total it contains 1000 number of records. So So if you execute the package from here, so this particular utility will actually load the CSV file into the SQL Server table, and after that you will find some data inside the SQL Server table. Okay, so for the database, it's asking that there is a red symbol here, and it's saying that the make sure that the required parameter p database is set, because when creating the project parameters we have set the value of p database as required. So it's asking that you need to provide the value of p database explicitly. However, it has taken the value of p server from the SSIS package itself. So simply click on this, and then it has taken the value testing that we gave to SSIS package while designing the package. And to execute the SSIS package, simply click OK. So it's saying that do you want to see the report. You can see, yeah, show us first time. Okay, so it's showing the execution report of the SSIS package. So the package has been successful, status is succeeded. So now if you will read on this SQL query, so you will find 1000 number of records in the SQL Server table. So the package ran fine, and it has loaded 1000 number of records into the SQL Server table. Now it comes the role of the project parameters, how project parameters can help us to dynamically configure the values of the server name and database name, or any other parameter that you created. So to assign those values, first we need to create an environment. So let's create an environment name. We can give any name, test environment, test env. You can click OK to create the environment, and then you can configure the properties of this test environment. So go to the variables, and we need to create two variables, one for server name and one for database. So first variable will be server, and the type will be a string because it will contain the server name, and the value, right now the value will be Ahmed, and the another variable will be database, and the data type will be a string as well, and the value will be testing. Okay, so click OK. Okay, so we have created the test environment, and now to link this environment with this particular SSIS package, click on the project parameters and click configure. So go to the references, and you need to create a reference to this particular test environment here. Click OK, and then go to the parameters here. Okay, so to provide the value of the project parameter p database, hit this button and then click use environment variable, and simply click the database environment variable that we just created in the last step and click OK. And now similarly for the project parameter p server, hit this button and then use the environment variable, and from these environment variable choose the server name environment variable that you just created. Click OK. So now we have configured the project parameters p database and the project parameters p server to get the values from the environment test environment we just created. So simply click OK. So now we have linked this environment with this SSIS package. So click on the execute. So now we can for these values p database and p server, we can simply say that use the environment test environment that we just created. So it has automatically taken the values from the p database and p server. So now simply click OK. So the package has been started running, and now this time we are not gonna see the report, so click no. So the package should have got completed, and if you rerun this SSIS package, so the count should be 2000 this time, because 1000 we loaded last time and 1000 should be loaded this time. So now if you execute the SSIS package, so if you execute this query, so the count is 2000. Alright, so this particular table contains the 2000 number of records. So suppose after a couple of months or couple of years, if our server got upgraded, and last time we had the SQL Server 2014, and now we got another new server 2016. Okay, and if you want to upgrade our SSIS packages database name and the server name with the new values, so so we don't need to modify anything in the SSIS package. We can simply modify that information in our test environment. So for example, what we can do, we can just simply create an schema of the test data, click it, create table script, and then let's create this particular table in the wide world importers database, which is situated in the SQL Server 2016 instance. So create this table. So now we got a new table, test data, inside the wide world importers database. And if you execute the query, so you should not find any records in this particular table. So now we simply need to change the value of our test environment. So simply click on the properties and go to the variables. So under the value, now we can change the value from testing to wide world importers. So let's copy the string from here and replace the testing with the wide world importers, and change the server name from Ahmad to SQL 2016. So click OK. So now this value should have changed here in the test environment. And if you execute, so let's verify the data in the old database. In the old database we have 2000 number of records, and in the new database we doesn't have any records. So if you execute the package now, so it should populate the data into the new database and in new server. So the package should have completed now. And if you execute the package in the new database wide world importers, so you will see that it should have 1000 number of records. So by using the project parameters, we have not modified anything in the SSIS package, and we have not used any configuration thing, but we have used the integration services catalog, and we use some environments to to modify the value of the server name and the database name using the project parameters. So this is the new concept from SSIS 2012 onwards. So thanks guys for watching the video, and if you have any questions, then you can comment on the video, and you can email me as well. And do subscribe to our channel to see more videos on SSIS and related technologies. Thank you.